to infinity and beyond. Today we're going to talk about Toy Story. Okay, it's been years since I've seen Toy Story, but I still love that movie. Man, Toy Story is so good. Toys coming to life, doing their own like secret society life world thing humans don't know, like so much fun. And then as we're invited into exploring this world of Andy's bedroom, and then Sid, the crazy neighbor, and the dog, and what a cool world. I love what Disney and Pixar did with Toy Story. Such a fan. But some of the things I wanted to explore in this story were, I love when Buzz Lightyear comes on the scene. I think I hated Buzz the first time I saw the movie because he was threatening Woody, and I just felt so loyal and identified with Woody. I was like, this guy's ruining our lives. I don't want this stupid Space Ranger toy to come. And he was also so like stuffy and, following the rules and deluded or whatever. But Buzz Lightyear does introduce an element to this story that's so much fun, that drives the plot for the rest of the movie. One of the things that's so interesting to watch between Buzz and Woody is the rivalry that arises, right? When they both kind of are contending for a place of value and significance, and you kind of see the insecurities in Woody come up, where he's starting to feel like he's not the best toy anymore. He's not Andy's favorite, and, retaliation and punishment, and him trying to like control and contain the problem, and Buzz is just trying to get back to the mothership or whatever his agenda was. I love watching Buzz and Woody compare themselves to each other, especially Woody to Buzz, and he even starts like exploring some of his own features as a toy, and like seeing how Buzz is so much better or so much cooler or so much newer or whatever. How often do we do that with people around us, comparing our features and our abilities or whatever to the person next to us, and judging ourselves and reducing us to someone else's function? Buzz and Woody are two totally different toys from two totally different worlds with two totally different functions, right? And so for Woody to be comparing himself, we all know is absurd and silly, but also so relatable. We all do that because we want to be the best toy. We want to be the favorite. We want to be the one that sticks out and is the most important or whatever. And so it's such a relatable human display in these inanimate objects, these toys, that is so down to earth and so human. We have to laugh, right? Love it. But there's also a very strong theme in this story of identity, right? You see Woody and Buzz both having these moments where they have to remind themselves or be reminded by someone else whose they are. There's a time where Woody's super just defeated and feels like he should just give up, and he shouldn't be the leader, he shouldn't whatever. And then Bo Peep comes and reminds him, like, you're Andy's favorite toy. And she lifts up his foot and sees the name that's underneath him, and he's like, oh yeah, that's true. And when he remembers like his purpose, why he exists, he's here to bring fun and imagination and playfulness to Andy's world, and that's why he exists. Like, he gets reminded of his purpose and can jump back into that significance and that hope of fulfillment and value and meaning. And then later, Buzz going on his own journey of like realizing he's not a space ranger and trying to get back to Star Command, and like that's not real. He goes through this whole like identity crisis, right? His world kind of caves in, and he has to like reorient to this different persona, and realizing that his function, his world maybe isn't what he thought it was, but there's still value here, and he does have meaning, and there is a place for him. How many of us have gone through that place where, we've had an idea of what our life was supposed to be, or what it was supposed to look like, or what we were supposed to accomplish or experience or get, and it didn't happen, and we realized that our expectations all the way up to this point had been wrong the whole time. And then we have choices, and some of us like fall off the train and never get back on. We just like bottom out and, scrape the bottom of the barrel for the rest of our lives. And others of us like realize like, yeah, everything sucks, or everything is wrong, or I've totally missed it, or whatever happened. And then we discover this light inside of us, this spark that won't give up, and it's willing to get back on the horse and keep going. I guess the train is the analogy. Get back on the train and fight for that meaning and that significance, and that it brings this resilience out of us, and we transform, and we start recognizing things that are actually more profound and more important and more meaningful than what we had initially like latched onto. We got to watch Woody and Buzz both go through their versions of this, and we identify with both. And I love that we could do something as simple and as basic as toys exploring the world and still get to see such beautiful elements that we are so familiar with and acquainted with that do express needs and desires in our own hearts. And there's such power in that whole practice of looking at the bottom of their foot and remembering who they belong to. And that's so true for us, right? Like, we can forget why we're here, what we're doing, or something can go wrong, or something can not happen, or whatever. And then we just start to question from a pretty significant place, like, what was the point? What am I doing here? We start going to some weird, dark places. But one of the most effective things I've found, not just for me, but for people in general, to recovering from that pit is remembering that your life is not about you. That this isn't yours. This is not something that you're supposed to make happen or that you're supposed to get for yourself. It's something that you actually get to give away. And that your life begins the day you actually realize that your life is an offering. That you get to pour it out, right? Chiefly to God, that you exist unto Him, that your design is to bring pleasure to the Lord, to enjoy Him, to recognize the beauty and the depth of who He is in the distraction of whatever the enemy would throw our way. And then also recognizing that as the love of God continues to flood us and we become more and more aware of His nature and who He is and what He's up to, we naturally are compelled to give of ourselves to the people around us. We want to serve our environment. We want to contribute to the betterment and the support and the protection of other people. Like, love is self-giving and always reaching for the other. And so as we start to embrace that nature and that identity that God Himself possesses, we start finding that the hopelessness and the despair and the isolation and the loneliness actually go away because we've aligned back to the reason that we exist. As simple and playful as Woody and Buzz's little foot moments are, they speak of such profundity that we also walk through in our own lives of remembering why we're here. Beautiful mystery hidden in children's stories. I love it. And then there's one more dynamic I wanted to talk about. Woody, obviously playing the role of a leader in Andy's bedroom, he kind of organizes and administrates and oversees the rest of the toys in the room and kind of helps bring government and order and structure to that whole environment to support life and peace and, interdependence among the community. I personally identify with that quite a bit. I spend a lot of energy and time trying to lead, if you will, from a place of support and empowerment and love that people are set up for success and having to make some hard decisions that people aren't going to like for the sake of the health and the betterment of the whole, usually including the individual. And so you see Woody's journey in this story where he gets overthrown by the other toys a few times, where they question his character, his integrity, his intention. And there are a couple times where his intention wasn't awesome. But there are other times where he was misunderstood, right? And they were kind of persecuting him because they didn't get it. And he's still, in his value for and responsibility to them, pushed past the persecution and the misunderstanding to serve them and to do the best that he could to show up and be a good leader. I love getting to see leadership displayed in this story as well. We don't always see that component in stories, but Woody is such a raw, honest commentary on the human experience, especially on the subject of leadership and just what it takes to actually guide and lead these people. You can't just be driven by your own emotions and your own agenda. There's so much more to be aware of, and there's so much more sacrifice that's entailed in order for you to succeed in that position. And I love getting to watch Woody make these hard decisions and fight for what's right and what's good. And even if it means it's going to cost him whatever, he's willing to give that up for the sake of his purpose, for the sake of what he was called to. What a fun, beautiful, compelling element to a playful, silly, obnoxious story that we all love. If you haven't seen Toy Story, do yourself a favor. Go watch it. It's one of the best movies we've made. I love that movie. And remember, guys, when you're watching a movie, you're never alone. Like, comment, subscribe. Which of the Toy Story movies, 1, 2, or 3, or 4, is your favorite? Put them in the comments below. We want to see that.